Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you today?
I'm good. Feels like these podcasts come faster and faster.
I know, right?
That's 2 weeks ago already.
I know.
Crazy.
We were just sitting here 5 minutes ago.
I know.
How you
Hey,
doing?
I just went yesterday and got a full body scan.
Ooh, tell me about that.
There's a couple things going on right now that are really interesting. They do these body scans,
Mhm.
and you can get them for as little as like $700, which I know is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But
still.
but they do a full scan, and they basically look for aneurysms or cancer, tumors.
No way.
Breast cancer is one of the things.
That's cool.
Any kind of things that shouldn't be there, right?
Yeah.
And so Ingrid and I both did it, and it takes about an hour. But they have Netflix on, so you're in this thing watching Netflix.
That's awesome.
It's very cool. It goes by fast, except for you can't scratch your nose or your eyebrow or whatever, and for an hour.
And inevitably you get an itch.
Very, 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 very frustrating.
Oh my gosh.
The other thing is the blood test I was telling you about yesterday.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Talk about that.
So,
let people know that this thing exists. It's really cool.
Our doctor told us about a new blood test that you can get. It uncovers 50 cancers, from hard tumor kind of cancers to blood cancers, pancreatic cancer, which is always one that you always kind of think, you worry if you're going to get that, right? Because by the time you find out you have it, you're already gone, right? You're
so it's like
die.
Something's lurking. This blood test will, oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so you can find it when it's very infinitesimal, and it's only got a 1% failure rate.
No way.
False positive.
The cancer has to be present in your body. It's not like it's going to tell you you're going to get pancreatic cancer later.
No, you have it.
Yeah.
You have it.
But,
hopefully.
Oh my gosh.
But imagine if you did that every a couple of years.
Yeah.
I mean, the longevity.
$700.
I think that one is $700 or $800.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so it's a lot of money. I mean, you could be spending $1,600 a year if you were doing it. But to be able to prevent or know that you have a cancer or something really horrible when it's early, when you can prevent it, that's worth your weight in gold, right?
So how long until you get your results?
2 to 3 weeks.
No way.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah.
And then we'll know we've got a clean bill of health on you.
Yeah,
that's actually, I like that. That's comforting.
If she's here next time by herself, you'll know that I didn't.
No, don't say that.
I didn't make it.
Stop it. Knock on wood. Okay, enough of that. What are we talking about today?
So this week we are having, we're going to talk about estate planning. Right. And a lot of people don't want to talk about estate planning.
I don't want to talk about my death.
It's not a very popular topic, but the pandemic actually brought it back and made people think about it more and act on it. And we're going to ask Kirsten about this, but I think the estate planners got a lot more business.
You would think, as people around them dying off. Yeah.
But, so we're gonna talk about estate planning today.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. So we'd like to welcome you to a place of possibility. I'm Richard Del Monte.
And I'm Angela Wright. We're so glad you're here with us today. Let me tell you a little bit about our guest, Kirsten Howe. Kirsten earned her law degree cum laude from the University of California, Hastings College of the Law, and a BS in biology from the University of Michigan. While in law school, she was a member of the Thurston Society and managing editor of the Hastings Law Journal. A noted speaker on estate planning issues, Kirsten is a member of the Trust and Estate section of the California State Bar and the Estate Planning and Probate Elder Law and the Women's sections of the Contra Costa County Bar. Kirsten also has her own podcast and is a dear friend of ours, a local to Walnut Creek. Kirsten, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kirsten.
Hi, thank you. Nice to be here with both of you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. And we know you're going to bring a lot of great information, hopefully change some lives here when people that have been procrastinating or whatever, they can get off the stick.
Yeah, so that's my job.
Thank you.
That's my job.
Yeah, well, let's start with some of the basics. We all hear about living trusts, and they're touted as the cure to every ill. Like if you get a hangnail, a living trust is what you need. And so
they don't?
Can you tell, set the record straight? Who needs a living trust, and what do they do for you? What don't they do? Maybe how are they different from a will?
Sure. Well, just to completely set the record straight, I don't think they cure hangnails, but
darn it.
And I actually I've never promoted it as a hangnail cure. So, but really anyone who owns any significant assets, and it doesn't have to be all that significant, in California, should have a living trust. The reason for that, the big thing is we're trying to keep everybody out of court. It's always bad if the family has to go to court for any reason. And in our probate process, I love our local probate department in Contra Costa County. They're fantastic. but you don't want to be there. It's taking forever. It's just taking forever, a ridiculously long time. And it can be very much more expensive. So what I say, who doesn't need a living trust?
Mm.
If you own real estate, yes, you need it. If you own assets more than $160,000, yes, you need it. The only clients of mine that I ever allow to do their plan without a trust are unmarried, never been married, never had children, and they're leaving everything to charity. If you're leaving it to a family member, why do you want to put them through that? So
right.
Plus, it's public too, right?
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
that's its own. It's the minute you file your probate petition, you're going to get calls and letters and emails from all kinds of people.
Really?
Huh.
And
if I'm dead, I won't really care about those.
You
calls
won't know, but your executor.
Way to leave
Your
a headache.
executor cares. Yeah.
Yeah. What do they call about?
Well, a lot of times they want to, they're trying to figure out, is there any real estate? I can help you sell that real estate.
Oh, interesting.
Stuff like that.
Circling.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh
That's
my gosh.
crazy.
Huh. So
crazy.
Real estate or 100,000 in assets. Get
Yeah.
yourself a living trust.
Get yourself a living trust. Yeah.
What if my real estate? What if I own like a mobile home? This is below 150,000. Is that
so
do I still need it?
Not necessarily. Mobile homes are not real estate.
Oh.
Most of the time, people who own mobile homes are renting the land, and the mobile home itself is personal property.
Ah, got it. Okay.
And it could be worth less than 100,000, 160,000. Yeah.
Okay. Good point.
So how does this differ from a will?
The trust actually owns your property while you're alive, so that when you die, the property is not owned by a dead person. That's the thing that puts us into probate court, is when a dead person owns property.
Mm-hmm.
We set up a trust, we move the property into the trust, then we're not going to have that problem.
Okay.
Interesting. What about during the trustor's lifetime? There's benefits there too, right? For having a trust.
Well, sure. The trust will cover you on death or incapacity. And so having a trust that says, if I become incapacitated, this other person over here is going to take over and become the trustee, that's usually a much easier thing to navigate than trying to convince a bank or in a brokerage house to take your power of attorney. They don't like powers of attorney, and it can be very hard to say, this person has this account here at your big investment house, and I'm the person they named in their power of attorney.
Interesting.
Trusts are a lot easier.
Yeah.
Also, I can imagine go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just going to say that's been our experience with our clients.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've seen that, even at Schwab, a little bit of difficulty.
Oh yeah, they won't touch it. Yeah, they don't like it at all. They're very nervous about it.
They like to have their own power of attorney. Like all the big houses, Schwab, they've all got their own form. And so a little tip for your audience is, even if you have a trust and you have a power of attorney, why not fill out their power of attorney? Just,
right.
Yeah.
But if you were the successor trustee of the trust, because the trustor was incapacitated, you'd be all right, with the Schwab or whatever.
Yeah, they are much more welcoming.
I think one time I saw a situation where the husband and wife had a house in joint tenancy, and then the husband got incapacitated, and then the wife couldn't sell the house. Yeah. Right. That can be a problem too, right?
Right. So if that had been in a trust, the trust would have allowed the wife as the sole trustee to sell the property. Yeah.
What do you do then? You have to go to court and get permission?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
There's a specific petition that you file when this one spouse is incapacitated. It's not a conservatorship, but you still have to go to court.
Yeah, which isn't fast.
Who wants to deal with that while you've got an incapacitated spouse, also in your grief of all of that?
You've got enough on your plate. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And how long does it take to go to court for something like that nowadays?
It depends very much on the county.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
I would say that's at least a 4 to 6 month process.
Wow.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
we're just
yeah.
not getting court dates like we used to. It used to be you could file a petition and maybe 6 weeks would be your hearing date. And now we're getting 3 months, 4 months, 5 months just for a simple thing like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So those TV shows where they're going to court, like the next scene after the commercial break, and they're, that's not real at all. Doesn't sound like, huh?
Like most things on
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was great. Thank you. So, we have a bunch of clients who have received inheritances through a trust. They've been on the receiving end, and then they become very, dissatisfied with the kids. We're talking about the heirs, with either they don't like the trustee, or they don't like the terms of the trust, or, they feel like the trustee is standing between them and their money. They don't want to be in business with their siblings. Like if there's a real estate portfolio or something, they don't trust their siblings or whatever. There's a lot of issues that can come up afterwards that the parents may not have thought of.
I once had an aunt that was a trustee, and she wouldn't let her niece take money from the trust to get married because she deemed that frivolous, when, the parents clearly indicated this to be there for her for things like that. And she was really upset about that.
Yeah. So that seems common. How do you deal with situations like that? You must be talking about that every day, I would imagine.
Yeah, it depends on what the problem specifically is. If it's the trustees not doing what they're supposed to do, clearly under the terms of the trust, they're supposed to do this and they're just not doing this. The beneficiaries always have recourse to have the trustee either removed by a judge or, at least spanked a little bit. But, so the beneficiaries always can go to court and complain about the trustee if they're not doing their job correctly. In a situation like one of the things you said, Richard, is, for example, siblings are stuck together owning real estate together because that's what the trust says. Again, these trusts are irrevocable because the grantor died, but irrevocable trusts can be modified. That's different from amended. Amended is when it's your trust, you can change it anytime you want because it's a revocable trust. But once it becomes irrevocable, we can modify it under certain circumstances. Oftentimes it requires going to court, but you explain to the judge, this isn't working anymore. And here's a proposed solution. Let's sell the assets, or let's divide up the ownership so we can go our separate ways. There are ways to deal with that.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's reassuring for a lot of people because they're thinking it's like casting concrete. There's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Really stuck.
But you have to was this your cousin that wanted to get married?
Not a cousin. No, it was a previous coworker.
She would have to, if it was Contra Costa, she'd be waiting 6 months, right? To be to have the wedding to get the money. Yeah.
I don't actually know how that turned out.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It really was.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. We often have clients come in with trusts that are a decade or two old, and they ask us, do we need to update this trust? What are the triggers that would cause somebody to need to update a trust?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a really great question because it's so important to keep it up to date. I can't even begin to tell you how many things go sideways when it's 10, 20 years old. The really easy, obvious ones are if the people you name in the trust, like your successor trustee, or any of the beneficiaries, if something unusual has happened, somebody has died, or somebody has lost capacity, or some you don't trust them anymore, or you don't like them anymore, you don't know them anymore, or you lost track of them. So those are really easy. Oftentimes when someone gets married or new family members, are born, or adopted, that could be important. Those are kind of easy, obvious things, but there are things that, if your living situation changes. So for example, a lot of our older clients, they lose their spouse and then they have a new relationship, which isn't maybe a marriage, maybe it isn't. But if it's someone important to you, that's something to think about. And also if someone important to you is now living in your home owned by the trust, we have to talk about that, because what happens if you become incapacitated, your successor trustee takes over. It doesn't say anywhere in the trust you can let this other person live in the house rent free. You could put that in the trust, and it needs to be in there if that's what you want. So we see that a lot. We see it more with children coming back to live with mom. And that's fine. That's what the family wants. That's what mom wants, but she needs to address that in her trust.
The rent-free thing is interesting because who's paying the property taxes and the upkeep on the house during that period of time, right? That can be a lot of money in this state.
Right. Yeah. So you have to talk about it. You have to figure out, what is this going to look like now?
Yeah.
So what about, as we often hear proposed bills and things going on with tax and the estate tax exemption changing. Do people need to update their trust every single time that happens, which is, could be frequent?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we had some level of predictability there?
It would be.
I'm sure that makes you too crazy in your business too, what you're trying to help your clients with, and
for sure,
the tax laws change all the time. Yes, people need to start paying attention to that, because as you, Richard, you and Angela, you both know, the estate tax exemption is going down in 2026. It's going to basically be cut in half from where it is right now. It's still going to be pretty generous. It's going to be about $6.5 million probably per person, but that's going to catch a lot of our clients who currently don't have to worry about estate tax. So we got to start planning for that.
That's if we're lucky, right? If someone poisons Joe Manchin, we got another problem.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. But so, clients, if you're finding yourself in that area, please get in and get that reviewed.
Yeah. Just start having that conversation with your attorney and your financial advisor now, because you don't want to get caught flat-footed. And
we see a lot of people
that have important, this planning requires that the person who needs to do the planning has capacity. So that's a whole other thing. If you're a little older, you want to think about that too.
Good point.
We still see a lot of people come in here that have AB trusts from the 80s, and stuff. Those ones for sure have to be looked at, right? Or redone.
It's a good idea for sure to take a look at it. The AB, the old school kind of AB. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a cat.
We were just joking about this before
What's the
cat's
show. Name?
Anyway, for most people, even if they like that two trust structure, we can do a lot better for the family tax wise with newer approaches, more modern approaches than what we always used to do, that AB thing. Yeah,
that's good to know.
But any married couple who hasn't been back to their attorney since before 2013, that is a no-brainer trigger. Just go talk to your attorney.
Well, that's good for us to know too. If we see a trust pre-2013, we get on it.
Yeah. So changes in their circumstances, family members, deaths, new partners, new people coming and going. Those are triggers. Also, if it's before 2013.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
an easy test.
Yeah.
Two-factor test. Okay, good. I like that. Okay, so we have a lot of people that we talk to about their trusts. They feel like spending the money on an attorney to do a trust is like overkill. Like they don't want to spend the whatever thousands of dollars it costs. So they go to things like LegalZoom or Nolo Press Willmaker 2022.
I see this all the time. Like on Nextdoor, someone will ask for an attorney recommendation, and then you'll see, I did mine on LegalZoom. Just go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you say to people like that? What are the pros and cons of that?
Well, how those things work is, there's either some kind of a form that you fill out and you check the boxes so they know what you want, or it's like on Nolo, it would be some little software that you're navigating through.
Right.
And what I would say is, in order for you to make the choices that you need to make in their program, you have to understand the pluses and minuses of that choice. And
Mhm.
with estate planning, as with many things in life, you can't always have everything that you would like. And so there's like a matrix of things. And just in the tax realm, capital gains tax, property tax, estate tax, income tax, you might be able to maximize the result in one of those categories, but not all 4 or 5 of those categories.
Right.
Mhm.
And how are you going to know unless someone who understands all of those various tax regimes, and I'm just using tax as one example,
Right.
sits there and explains it to you? Well, actually, if property tax is your concern, you got to do it this way. And that means you're giving up this over here. Is that
Mhm.
okay with you? So I don't think it's really possible to write a computer program that can do that for lay people.
Yeah.
I-
That
Yeah,
makes
and
a
then
lot of sense.
if you add in like, step families and blended families and all those other kind of things that have divorces, oh my
Mhm.
gosh, there's no way, right? There's
Yeah.
no way.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think for a very, very, very simple situation, it might be fine. It might work. But most people, most
Yeah.
people's situations are a little more
Yeah.
complex than that.
In an analogous situation, I can't tell you how many times I've seen people that have gone and done TurboTax,
Mm.
right, for their returns, and they own a rental and they never took depreciation, and it's
I
like
just saw
they
that come
don't
across our
know,
desk. Yeah.
and so
Right.
it's like you just imagine what else don't you know if you're trying to write your own
Yeah.
trust
Yeah. You
or your own
don't
estate
know.
plan? Yeah,
That's exactly right, Richard. You don't
Yeah.
know what you don't know. So how
exactly.
are you?
Right.
How
And they
can
think,
you?
oh, I've got this. It's so fine. I looked it up. I
Yeah.
saw a video on YouTube and it was, I know what to do. Maybe not.
Right.
You'd hate to have to have your kids find out the hard way. My father was a schmuck because he saved $2,000 or $3,000 or $5,000,
Mm.
and now he left us in this
And it's
situation
costing
that
us.
is really
Yeah.
untenable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Good point.
question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we recently had a situation where an heir is potentially getting locked out of some government benefits due to their inheritance. And I'm wondering, what can we do for those sorts of folks who are receiving some sort of assistance and then potentially will have this windfall? What arrows do you have in your quiver for those
Sure.
sorts of people?
So there are usually a couple of different approaches depending on the situation. If the inheritance is coming from a trust and the inheritance is given to the beneficiary to be held in trust, we can go to court and have that trust modified so that it becomes a trust that is not going to disrupt those
Oh,
benefits.
interesting.
So
Nice.
we can have that the parents, I'll just say the parents trust modified into a
Huh.
special needs trust. If it
Mhm.
was already a trust for the child, but not a special needs trust, we can go to court, get it modified.
Well, that's
If
good to know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty straightforward thing. If
Okay.
it's coming to the beneficiary outright, so they're just going to get an inheritance, again, we can create a special needs trust to hold that inheritance. The difference between those two situations, now we're getting really in the weeds. The first one is a third party special needs trust, the parent's money. It's considered the parent's money because we're just modifying the parent's trust. The second one, it's the kid's money. We're creating a trust to protect it. That's a first party. The difference between those two is when the kid dies in a first party special needs trust,
Mhm.
they got to pay Medi-Cal back. If they were receiving Medi-Cal benefits, they're going to, they're going to get a bill.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but still, it's better to have the inheritance protected so the money is available
No question.
and
Yeah.
and they still get their SSI or their Medi-Cal or whatever,
Yeah.
the benefit.
Interesting.
Okay.
So
What
yeah,
about-
that's a big part of special needs planning is fixing those things. And
Wow, I didn't know you could do that. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great to
Yeah.
hear. What about the whole thing about planning for long-term care expenses and stuff for people that are not impoverished? And there's a whole, industry, right, built around trying to get people qualified for Medi-Cal,
Speaking of,
right.
or Medicaid in other states. What What kind of advice do you give people for that? How does that work? What should people be looking at? When should they start thinking about it? If they have older parents or if it's them, what kind of general guidance can you give them?
Sure. Well, I'm gonna say, especially in that situation, the earlier you get specific advice, not just go on Google and start reading stuff, but
Don't go to
advice that's
LegalZoom?
specific
Okay.
advice that's specific to your situation. So I'm talking about an attorney who does this kind of planning. The
Yeah.
earlier you get that, when you're starting to think this might be an issue in your family, mother has fallen, she went in the hospital, now she's in a rehab facility, she's going to come home, but maybe this is the beginning of that. Maybe we're setting off down that path, or there's been a diagnosis, or you're starting to see evidence of something that could become a diagnosis. And the big thing that we struggle with in that world is dementia. That's just, it's huge, and it's crippling to families. But just get the advice, just spend a few $100 and talk to an attorney who practices in this area so that you don't make mistakes.
Right.
Because there are assets that you can have and still qualify for Medi-Cal, is what we call it in California. And people are always surprised, and you don't want to spend those assets. If you have other assets to spend, don't spend your IRA down to nothing. Medi-Cal would allow you to keep the IRA.
It would?
Still, yeah. And still
you could have a $2 million IRA and you still be on Medi-Cal?
Possibly.
Wow. That's
possibly.
amazing.
There were some recent changes, weren't there, to Medi-Cal?
Yeah, I think you mentioned before that there were some changes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, and that's another very important point. So last year, the state of California passed new legislation that's going to eventually eliminate the asset limits for Medi-Cal paying for long-term care. So currently, if you're in a skilled nursing facility and you want Medi-Cal to pay for your care there, you have to have less than $2,000 aside from the what we call exempt assets. You can own your home. Like I said, you can have an IRA, but everything else, $2,000. So that's pretty restrictive. In July of this year, that number 2,000 is going up to 130. So that'll make it easier for a lot of people. And then their intention is to January 2024, so in less than 2 years, to eliminate the asset restriction altogether. So you could, in theory, you could have $2 million in your bank account and still qualify for Medi-Cal. Now, there are still always going to be income limitations. So again, you want to talk to an attorney who knows how to navigate that and set things up correctly.
Yeah.
But that's going to be huge. That's going to be a game changer in California.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Not a place where you want to scrimp and be penny wise and pound foolish, folks.
Yeah.
Not on that.
Get some good advice. Get some good, and not all estate planning attorneys do that area of the law. Some do and some don't. And so just do your homework and get one who does.
But you do, right?
I do. Yeah, we do. We do.
Okay, yeah. That's really helpful.
Gosh, this has been such an awesome discussion. I mean, you've answered so many of the questions that we hear with every new client meeting. What about my trust? When do I have to update it? How can I get Medi-Cal? I mean, it's been really awesome.
I have a couple more. Could I?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I see some questions coming in on the, on the thing too.
What about Prop 19? A lot of questions about Prop 19. And how does it? Are there things you can do, or is it just the way it is?
Yeah.
And I've heard that there are attempts to repeal it or modify it or something. Is that?
I've been hearing that. I've been hearing that too. I've heard it a few different times from people that I think know these things, and I've basically been told, "Oh, it will be on the ballot." There's going to be some sort of a repeal on the ballot. They're out there gathering signatures now, so that's a possibility. You can't bank on it, but I think that there are. My guess is there are enough people who were caught completely by surprise that they'll go to the ballot just for that thing. They'll go out and vote. You know, if we had snowstorms in California, they would go out in a snowstorm.
Yeah.
So we used to be able to leave our real estate to our children with some limitations, but not real draconian limitations. We used to be able to leave our real estate to our children and the property taxes would not change. So if you die and you have rental properties, vacation homes, whatever, the kids inherit it, they keep the same property tax. What Prop 19 did is it threw all of that out, except you can leave your primary residence to your child, and if they turn it into their primary residence, the property taxes won't go up. That's it. That's all we have left.
Wow. Is it on the first million or all of it?
No, there is a limitation on it as well. They put a cap on it. So the property taxes will go up if there's a giant jump in the value. But I don't get into that much detail with my clients there. But, you know, that took away a lot because we have a lot of clients who, you know, they didn't build up a big 401k. That wasn't their path. They built up a real estate portfolio. And that was their retirement. They've been doing it for 30 years, 40 years. And all of a sudden, okay, now our kids will inherit it, but they're going to have to sell it because it's not profitable anymore.
Yeah. That's
to run those as rental properties.
That's a horrible situation to create.
Is.
Yeah. That is
so
we
many.
we had a lot of people doing advanced gifting before Prop 19 became effective.
I remember that. Right. Very busy. Do we have any questions from the audience?
Yeah, I saw one come through. Okay, so could you list maybe a couple of the common pitfalls or mistakes that people make when they're doing their estate planning, which we watch out for?
Well, the biggest thing is, and the most common by far, is people don't adequately fund their trust. So they set up a trust and then they forget about it. And then when they die, we discover bank accounts, even real estate, all over the place.
Not in it.
Stuff that's not in the trust. So we end up having to do a probate anyway, which is what we're trying to avoid. So that is by far the most common one. And you know, I think it's so important to think about who's going to be the trustee and to really seriously think about that. Most parents will just, my oldest child, or, all three of my children will be co-trustees. Don't do that.
They'll get along great. What could go wrong?
Don't do that.
See if they can decide where to go on their next family vacation together. And we'll see how that goes.
That is such a good point.
Or what they're going to have for Thanksgiving dinner.
That's a huge fight in our family.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I always try to have a conversation with people about that. And, you know, there are professionals who do nothing but serve as trustees for people, and they get the job done very fast, very efficiently, and the kids aren't fighting with each other because it's a third person. They can't, you know, what are they going to fight about? Mom always liked you better. No, you know. So I think those are not necessarily mistakes, but those are the things that I wish people would think harder about.
Thanks. Those are good.
And probably something that will maker is not going to tell you to think about, right?
No.
When you're doing your estate plan.
I doubt they, you know, you fill in 3 names in that trustee position, and will maker is not going to say, "Are you sure?
Have you thought about this, and this?"
Not at all.
What about, we have another question from the audience, and that is the legal plans that are available through work. Like people have those employee benefit things. Do you have any experience with those? What do you think about those? Should somebody try to go do an estate plan through one of those attorneys? Is that even possible?
I think, well, I would say I have a colleague, not in the Bay Area, in Southern California, who is an attorney on one of those kind of plans. And, you know, she has her regular practice just like mine. And she also takes a bunch of clients through this particular prepaid legal plan. So I think they are getting a quality estate plan. I really do. Those I can't speak for everybody, but I'm sure she's not giving them some cheapo second rate product just because they're paying a fixed price. So I think it can be really great, but like any situation, you want to make sure you pick an attorney that you like and that you have confidence in. Just because they've signed up for this program doesn't mean you can't trust them. You can't get something good. But what I will say is that they're going to limit it. You can only get this. And then if you need something else, like maybe if you need a special needs trust, you're going to private pay for that. That's just a guess or an example, but they're going to cover something, not everything.
Makes sense. It's a cool benefit for employees.
Yeah.
You're lucky
I just
if you
wasn't
have
sure
that.
if they're, was it real or not?
Yeah. Schwab employees, I think, get
Do
that.
they?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Kirsten, I have one more question as a final one for you. Your podcasts are amazing. You have so many different guests on there. The topics go from, they're just how do you come up with all these great topics? We work on topics ourselves all the time. We're like, what are we going to talk about in 2 weeks? I don't know, but you all have these amazing topics. How do you do that?
That's so nice. Thank you.
And fabulous guests as well.
Thank you. And I guess I should say my podcast is called Absolute Trust Talk, and you can find it, wherever you find podcasts. You can find it on our website too, absolutetrustconsult.com. But I don't know. Things come up, there's no shortage of stories and issues. I'm sure that's the same for you. You see these things happening in your client's life and you go, oh, that would be good.
Yeah.
Let's have a guest on who can talk about that problem that my clients are having. So, that's a lot of it is that it's just, this is what we're seeing, and what can we put out there that will help somebody else not have this issue,
Love that.
Yep.
Take a problem one client's having and solve it for everybody.
Yeah.
It's
terrific. It's terrific. People love stories too. It's really a fabulous thing.
Yeah.
Well, Kirsten, thank you so much for being here. You are an excellent attorney. You're an excellent friend, and I'm in a group with you of other professionals, and everybody. You're the go-to person everybody relies on. So it's really a treat to have you here. Thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you for having me and for your very, very kind words. It's been a lot of fun. It's always fun to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate it. And likewise.
Yeah. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Oh, wow. That was so awesome.
Wasn't that great?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Everything you always want to know about trust. And you're afraid to ask,
I feel like we could do 10 more shows on this topic and still not cover all the questions, but what a great start. Gosh. Well, thank you everyone for being with us today. As always, we have our book, Endless Inheritance, relevant to this topic, a lot about estate planning in that. You can get your copy on our website. If you want to book an appointment with us, that is also available on our website. We're offering complimentary consultations, and you can get the guide for this show on our website or in the show notes if you're listening, and we'll put some details there. I think that's all for now. Thank you so much for being with us.
We'll see you again in 2 weeks, and don't forget, you're invested, and so are we. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Bye.